Hey guys, how's it going? So UFC Fight Night Tsarukyan versus Hooker just wrapped up, and I'm going to go through this card and give you 5 of my biggest takeaways leaving this event. So without wasting too much time, we'll just jump into number 1. We've got 2 new number 1 contenders. We've got one for lightweight and one for welterweight. We'll start with welterweight. Ian Gary beat Bilal Muhammad. Pretty dominant fashion. It was a very, very close fight, but I'll get into more details later because I do have more things to bring up with that fight. But very solid performance from Ian Gary. Realistically, he is the number 1 contender. There are people like Morales and Prates who got good wins last week, but I don't think they're quite there yet. They've jumped up quite a high bit in the rankings just to get into that top 5. I think both of them need one more opponent, if not each other, before they get that title shot. Unlike Ian Gary, he's been wavering around the 6th, 7th area. Oh boy, 6-7. And now just beat the number 2 contender in Bilal Muhammad, number 1 being JDM. And while you could do an Ian Gary JDM matchup to determine the next title challenger, I don't think people want to see the JDM rematch, and I don't think Ian particularly needs to go that route. There is storyline there with the Peanut M&M saga, for those who know, but I think Ian Gary's next up for the belt, due to just really not many options in that top 5 area just now. And, you know, looking good against Bilal in that sense where he just kept denying the takedowns. I mean, that could make for a really fun Islam Makhachev matchup. Anyway, we'll move on to the main event now. Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. Arman got a very dominant win here. Hooker did look good at moments on the feet. His straights, his kicks, his knees were doing a bit of damage here and there. But Tsarukyan was just winging these massive shots over the top, these overhands, these massive hooks, dealing the massive damage of this fight. A knee to the head of Hooker as well that caused massive swelling above the eye of Hooker. And even when Hooker would get these guillotine attempts, you know, Arman would shoot him for a takedown, Hooker would get the guillotine locked up. Arman has this technique of just rolling out of these submission attempts, which I think in a matchup against Islam Makhachev would have been really interesting. We're not really going to get that anymore, but with his win, his submission in the second round via triangle over Dan Hooker, I think next up is Ilya. I don't really see Ilya fighting Gaethje or Paddy next over someone like Arman. They could have already made the matchup, so who knows. But realistically, I think if they haven't made a matchup for Topuria, Arman's next. It's the only rightful number 1 contender in that division, in my opinion. And yeah, this event was huge for the welterweight and lightweight sort of rankings. And yeah, number 2, Ian Gary has generated a lot of hype leaving this event. Some animosity. There are some iffy parts about his fight with Bilal Muhammad, but his win over Bilal Muhammad has pretty much put him in that title picture with Islam Makhachev. And in his post-fight speech, he pretty much cut a promo for that fight. He said that he constantly denied all of Bilal Muhammad's takedowns, and Bilal Muhammad trains with Islam here and there. So it doesn't look great for Islam. I mean, honestly, I'm intrigued to see how that will play out with Ian Gary looking really, really good on the takedown defense-wise in this fight. And even when he does get to the ground, he's been training BJJ with people like Charles Oliveira and just going to Brazil to refine his BJJ. So it's not even like if he does get taken down, it's necessarily over for him, but takedown defense was on point in this fight. His ability to mix it up, his kicks, his range, his big shots over the top, and his jabs and his, especially the oblique kicks that were pushing in the knees of Bilal Muhammad, really looked like they were starting to cause like quite a bit of injury to the knee and leg of Bilal. And yeah, his ability to mix it up and use his range to get advantage over people is really, really important in his fights and looked really good in this. Whether the fight was as dominant as a 30-27, I don't think so. I think Bilal at least won one round, whether that was the first or second. I thought the first could have been the second. Honestly, could have been the third as well. I mean, every round was ridiculously close. But Ian Gary was just landing the more impactful shots, the bigger shots, caused more damage as well. And also, it should be noted the eye pokes. The eye pokes were a serious issue. The first one was particularly bad, but then even after being warned in the second round when he goes in with both his hands and does like a double eye poke, Tom Aspinall, with both of his hands, it's a real issue. The fact that they didn't deduct a point is kind of debatable because I think after a first instance and you get warned and you do it again, I think that's grounds for taking a point, but that's here and there. But either way, it still beat Bilal Muhammad. If Bilal Muhammad won this one, I couldn't see him fighting Islam as well. So I do think it helps move that welterweight division ahead a bit. But yeah, also behind the scenes with Hamzat, the sort of behind the scenes fight they had here and there, it would be interesting. I mean, if he can get through Islam Makhachev and potentially move up to middleweight and fight Hamza for the belt, I mean, that's a Conor McGregor storyline waiting to happen. A double champ, 2 dominant wins over some crazy high-ranked pound-for-pound fighters. I mean, Ian Gary has kind of set himself up for success here. So yeah, Ian Gary set himself up, a lot of hype leaving this event, and we'll move on. Number 3, what has Gregory Rodriguez done to the chin of Jack Hermansson? So, Myktabek Orbai versus Jack Hermansson, welterweight fight, Myktabek moving up, Jack Hermansson moving down to meet in the middle at welterweight. And while this fight was pretty substandard to start, like it's what you'd expect, Myktabek Orbai was looking slightly better in the striking, tagging him, wobbles him at one point, but nothing crazy. But out of nowhere, against the cage, Myktabek Orbai throws this straight right that kind of skims the side of the head of Hermansson. Looked like it just kind of flicked the ear, didn't even look like it landed properly. And Hermansson just goes out, folds over, lays on his back, completely unconscious. Myktabek Orbai jumps in, lands another massive shot while Hermansson's very clearly not conscious. Puts him out even more, sends him to the Shadow Realm. But the knockout was so weird. It could either be the fact that Myktabek Orbai has really good power at welterweight and the punch was just that strong, but just, you know, didn't look that. But man, I can't help but think that after that knockout to Gregory Rodriguez at UFC 317, Jack Hermansson's chin might just not be what it was. Might be really, really easy to chin Hermansson in the future now. He is getting quite up there in age as well, nearing the end of his career, I feel like. But yeah, it's really weird seeing Hermansson get put out with a punch like that, especially this is the same Hermansson that went 5 rounds with Joe Pyfer and ate some massive shots in that fight and just kept going. And he is known for having a pretty good chin earlier in his career, but recently, man, he's just been being like put out really, really just quickly in his fights. Not to take anything away from Myktabek Orbai, he did look really, really solid at welterweight. But yeah, the punch was weird. It skimmed the side of the head, kind of similar to Carlos Prates versus Neil Magny, for those who remember that fight, where it literally looked like it missed, but the other person just falls forward or backwards in this case. Knocked out bad. But yeah, weird knockout on the card, but still a fun one. First round knockout. Really solid card for those. Number 4, Waldo Cortez Acosta has made an even bigger argument for a title shot following a first round knockout over Shamil Gaziev. Brutal knockout at that as well. On short notice as well. Really, really short notice. I think it was maybe 4 days or less. So really, really, really impressive from Acosta. He's actually really made a name for himself in the past couple of weeks, despite losing to Sergey Pavlovich somewhat recently. He's made a name back by, first of all, taking out Tom's training partner, Tom Aspinall's training partner, Ante D'Elia, with a brutal knockout after being eye poked as well. Weird situation there. The eye poke thing will just never go away for Tom. I swear the script is just trying to make Tom look as bad as possible, but that's besides the point. Got a brutal knockout over Ante D'Elia, and then stepped in with less than a week's notice to fight Shamil Gaziev, a pretty scary knockout guy himself. And he put Shamil Gaziev out in the first round, rocked him against the cage, had him shooting him for takedowns, and then when they returned to the middle, just unloads a massive right hand directly on the chin of Gaziev, puts him out cold. No one's really done that to Gaziev. There is a TKO on Gaziev's record against Rosenstrike, but that was genuinely because Shamil Gaziev gassed out and just couldn't continue. Shamil Gaziev's never really been hurt like that, and Acosta just absolutely just brutalized him in this fight. I know that they're probably going to run back the Tom Aspinall-Cyril Gane matchup, so he probably won't be next for the title. But honestly, if Acosta just sits it out, I could see him getting next up. I know Volkov's there, but I think an Acosta matchup would be a bit more fresh. But also, he could have one more fight, maybe Volkov. And then the winner, if that gets the next title shot, it would be a good incentive for Volkov to really cement his name next for the title as well. So maybe they're going to run that up next. But Waldo Cortez Acosta has just been on an absolute roll recently. And number 5, Kyoji Horiguchi came back in absolute fashion. He got cut from the UFC, or just left the UFC quite a while ago. Hasn't fought in the UFC for a couple of years now. And he came back on this card, and it seemed like he never left. Before that, his only real loss in the UFC was to Demetrius Johnson. Outside of that, he absolutely dominated everyone else he got put up against, and after some long time out of the UFC, he came back and he looked the exact same. Absolutely dominated Tagir Ulanbekov for 3 whole rounds. The start of the fight, and by start I mean maybe the first 3 minutes, were kind of close. They were a competitive back and forth on the feet. But as the rounds went on, round 2, round 3, definitely, it was just complete domination on the feet from Horiguchi. He ended up cutting open the face of Ulanbekov quite badly with elbows and punches. And even later in the fight, started dominating Ulanbekov on the ground, where Ulanbekov is usually the guy who out-physicals people in the grappling. He's really good on the ground, also pretty solid on the feet as well. He's actually a pretty tough test. Usually he's like a top 15 gatekeeper. and Horiguchi ran through him like it was nothing. In the third round as well, kick to the head, this brutal head kick, put Ulanbekov down, followed up with a straight right as well to put him down even worse, had him really dazed, and then jumped on his back, submitted him with a rear naked choke. This was one of the best performances on the card from a guy who I was really unsure about going into it. I mean, he spent quite a bit of time at Bellator, lost to people like Patchy Mix, Takai Asakura, got that win back to be fair, beat Asakura later. But still, I don't really see the competition levels being the same. But man, he came back in fashion. Give this guy a nice matchup next. I'd seriously like to see how he fares in the top 15 because he looked absolutely dominant in this matchup. Now moving on to other moments of the night, and there are heaps of these. This card was amazing. Volkan Ozdemir absolutely broke Alonzo Menafield with constant forward pressure, got Alonzo Menafield up against the cage where it just keep nailing him with these shots, especially the knee. Menafield would constantly duck down to try and land a shot, and Ozdemir would just land this big knee straight down the middle multiple times. In fact, it's what led to the finishing sequence. Kneed Menafield to the head, and then while Menafield's ducking weaving against the cage, Ozdemir just starts firing this flurry of punches, eventually landing a massive shot that puts Menafield out and down, finishing the fight early in the first round. Luke Riley, really impressive debut. Rocky first round, where Grad kind of out-wrestled Riley for pretty much the whole round. But in the second round, instantly within that second round, Riley comes out, lands this massive left hook, drops Grad bad, and then finishes him off with some ground and pound. Really impressive second round TKO finish for him. Honestly, keep an eye out for Luke Riley. He did look really impressive here, and I'm excited to see what's next for him. Yeah, good debut for Luke Riley. Aswell Mabayev got a really nasty guillotine submission in the third round over Alex Perez. First and second round were pretty compared back and forth. Aswell Mabayev won the first round, I thought. Second round went to Alex Perez. Both were giving each other challenges in the striking and in the wrestling. But in the third round, Aswell Mabayev gets into the clinch and jumps a nasty guillotine on Alex Perez. Locks it in tight, locks his legs around the body of Alex Perez. And Alex Perez just hunches forward while standing and taps very quickly afterwards. I mean, the jump guillotine was perfect, would cause Dustin Poirier to shed a tear. Yeah, really impressive win for Aswell Mabayev. Rafael Cerqueira, this is probably it for him. He's 0-4 now, 0-5 actually, probably now, in the UFC, and has been put away in the first round in 3 of his fights, and this is a 4th now. Abdul Rahman Yakayev didn't look bad by any means. He actually looked really, really strong. He came out quick, head kicked him, blocked mainly by Cerqueira, but Cerqueira still seemed a bit dazed by it. And then against the cage, he just got beat up, went down to the ground where Abdul Yakayev jumped on him and submitted him in the first round. Cerqueira just seems way too easy to put away. He seems very easily dazed on the feet. I can't really see him getting past really anyone in that division. So I think this might be it for him. Not to take anything away from Yakayev. Yakayev looked really good in this fight. But yeah, Rafael Cerqueira, probably it for him. Alexandra Topuria, this is a big selling point of this card. How we were going to find out where does he sort of place in the bantamweights with the Bekzat Almakhan test, because Bekzat Almakhan is really difficult to get by. I think he'd give most people in bantamweight a pretty tricky challenge. I think he's really underrated. He almost finished Umar in his first fight in the UFC, knocked him down pretty badly. And Topuria did pretty good. The first round was kind of rocky. He was getting tagged up on the feet by Almakhan quite badly. I thought Almakhan won that first round quite comfortably. But in the second and third, when he started implementing more wrestling, and then in the third especially, landing these massive power shots, dropping Almakhan multiple times, Almakhan showing a lot more damage in those later 2 rounds, took back the fight. Very impressive performance from Topuria. He looked really, really good, not taking anything away from him. Almakhan also looked good early, but couldn't quite get it done. Do I think Alexandra Topuria will be on the same level as Ilya? Not yet. I didn't quite see that from this fight. He did look good, but it wasn't anything, insane power like Ilya or anything particularly special that separated him from the rest. But he looked solid. His shot selection is pretty nice. His wrestling, I think, is his biggest asset. I think he's actually a better wrestler than anything else with his Roman Greco sort of style. But we're yet to see. But I do think he will make a bit of a run at bantamweight, and we're yet to see where that sort of ceiling lays. Ismail Nurdiev, really good performance from him. He went up against Ryan Loder. Ryan Loder looked a bit stiff on the feet. He was landing nicely with the jabs early on, but Nurdiev just unloads a straight right. First punch he really threw of the fight and puts Loder out bad. Loder's out cold from that just one punch, falls backwards. Nurdiev celebrates instantly, knows that he's put Ryan Loder out. First round finish. And to finish it off, Shamrock, he got outworked by Nurullo Aliyev for 3 whole rounds pretty much. Particularly in the wrestling, he didn't really have much to offer, but Aliev came out strong in the first with the striking, which I didn't think Rock was particularly prepared for. He kept getting rocked by these same sort of left, like 1-2 combos. Meanwhile, Aliev later in the rounds was starting to win the wrestling as well. Meanwhile, Shamrock just didn't really have any moments, which was a shame. He was another prospect along with Luke Riley coming out of the Paddy Pimblett training camp, but he didn't look great. Also kind of chucked a sook at the end of the fight, threw his mouth guard at Aliev when the fight ended, and then walked off while the decision was being read. So not a great look for Rock, but hey, who knows what's next for him. So with all that said, where would I put this card? Very, very high. I really like this card. I think this is one of the best fight nights we've got, not just this year, but in a very, very long time. Every fight on this card, except for the early prelim opener, but every fight outside of that was really, really fun to watch. A lot of finishes, a lot of first round finishes, a lot of brutal knockouts. The main event was really fun. The co-main event, even though it went to a decision, was a really fun back and forth slugfest between two really skilled fighters. The card was stacked. So I'm going to put this one below 316 and above 321 as the highest ranked fight night of 2025. This card was really, really fun. No UFC next weekend, which is going to be kind of a bummer after such an amazing card. But after that, I'll get back to you with UFC 323 and some videos on that. But in the meantime, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.